G'day, ZiggyD here, and welcome back for some more Path of Exile. In this video I'm going to be giving you guys a guide to chance orbing items in Path of Exile. I'll be going over what items to chance orb, and the reason why I chance those particular items. Now, chancing items in Path of Exile is a game of luck, but it can be played intelligently. Everyone will have their different strategies. Some people will chance items that they want for their builds, and other people will just go for the highest value items possible. Some people will chance more items, some people will chance fewer items. My particular strategy I'll go through, it mostly hinges on the idea of balancing high value items with items that have good value, but also good potential value if a unique is not rolled. Because, let's face it, most of the time, you're not getting those uniques. I've had one unique in my entire Path of Exile career chanced, and I've spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of chance orbs, and that was a Combs sign. I chanced a Combs sign, unfortunately. So that was early on in my career, and since then I have not chanced another unique. But overall, I feel like I've still made a profit on chance orbs. That could be, you know, confirmation bias looking backwards, but overall I think I've done pretty well sticking to this particular strategy. So firstly, before I explain the strategy, let's just go over how chance orbs work for those of you guys who are newer to the game. When used on a white item, chance orbs provide a chance of getting a magic, rare, or unique rarity version of that base item. So if you put in a 4-socket Occultist Vestment, you have a chance of getting a magic 4-socket Occultist Vestment, or a rare one, or a Chevron's Wrappings, or an Infernal Mantle, because there's 2 uniques that can spawn on that base. Now, the exact chances of getting a unique item are known. They have been hinted at times, but generally it seems that the more powerful uniques are rarer than the less powerful uniques. It's harder to get them with chance orbs. Now, item level does not matter for getting uniques, even for uniques that are dropped only in maps, so map-gated items. However, item level does have some impact on some of the other important considerations, particularly in my strategy for chance orbing items. So let's go through some items, and I'll explain the reason why I chance those items. Now, the first one is the Gavel. The Gavel base gives the Mjolnir one-handed unique. Now, Mjolnir you've probably heard of. It is the Thunder God's hammer. It's very powerful, very popular, and very expensive. At the time of recording, they have been selling for up to 35 Exalt in Rampage. Now, that could change in the future, but at the moment, they're pretty valuable items. So this is an example of chancing for a high value item. However, I also like to chance Gavels because when they don't roll a unique, there's still a bit of a consolation prize. Now, what you want to do when you're chancing Gavels is first quality them up to 20% using Blacksmith Whetstone. So that's 4 Blacksmith Whetstones, takes you to 20 quality, and then you'll chuck a chance orb on it. Now, if you don't get your unique, or if you don't get a good rare or blue that you want to sell, then what you can do is you can vendor that Gavel, that 20 quality Gavel, along with a map. I usually just use a level 66 map, usually something bad like an orchard, and then that trades back for a chisel. So you're always getting a chisel. Now, you should always be picking up Gavels, 20 qualitying them, trading them with maps for chisels. Anyway, it's a good recipe to know and to do frequently, and it's great for mapping, for helping you keep your chisel funds up. So the next item is the Prophecy Wand. This is one I've neglected in the past, but the unique that you can get from the Prophecy Wand is the Void Battery, and this thing is incredibly valuable. At the time of recording, they've been selling for up to 45 Exalts on Rampage League. Now, the Void Battery itself is quite valuable, but Prophecy Wands also can be quite valuable if rolled well as a rare. I like to chance eye level 72, so item level 72 Prophecy Wands, because that is when the max cast speed roll is available, or item level 76, because that is when the max crit chance roll is available. So I like to try and chance these with the mind that if it rolls a rare, there's a good, there's a potential that it can be a really good or best in slot rare wand. Now, another benefit is if you're running level 75 maps and getting the occasional 76 from blue or rare monsters, then if you're chancing these Prophecy Wands and they roll rare, but the stats on them aren't very good, you can still use them in the Regal recipe, or if they're below eye level 75, you can use them in the Chaos Orb recipe. Now, the next base I like to chance is the Occultist Vestment. This is a very popular one, and that's because the item that can roll of it is one of the highest value items in the game, Chevron's Wrappings. Now, at the time of recording, this Chevron's Wrappings are selling for 65 Exalts on Rampage League, so a very high value item. Now, there's an interesting thing with this Occultist Vestment base, and that is that there's 2 uniques available from this one base. The other one is the Infernal Mantle. Now, comparatively speaking, the values of Chevrons and Infernal Mantles are not anywhere close. Infernal Mantles are almost impossible to sell unless they are 5 or 6 linked, whereas Chevrons always sell for a huge amount of money, even if they're not linked. So the Infernal Mantle has been dubbed the Troll Mantle because when you get it, you've basically been trolled. However, that's not entirely true because when you're chancing these items, the potential of rolling an Infernal Mantle does not actually lower your chance of getting a Chavaron's Wrappings. Now, if you're only chancing one base and then scouring it and chancing it, scouring and chancing it, sure, you'll have to get a new base. You'll have to get a new Occultist Vestment. But getting the Infernal Mantle doesn't actually mean you didn't get a Chavaron's. You just got an Infernal Mantle instead. So it's like there's different results. There's an extra result than what there is if you're chancing an item that only has one unique available. Your options for an Occultist Vestment are getting a magic, getting a rare, getting a Chavaron's Wrappings, or getting an Infernal Mantle. So there's just an extra option there. So because of the value of this item, this is a good one to chance, but the actual base item itself is quite a good spellcaster rare chest. Now, rare chests are not very popular in general these days, but a well-rolled Occultist Vestment with high energy shield and, you know, good resistances can still sell for quite a bit. And now we kind of move out of the super high value items and more towards the end of the spectrum of decent value items that still have good value if they roll as a rare. Now, the first of these is the Amethyst Ring. I like to chance Amethyst Rings a lot for the Ming's Heart unique. Now, Ming's Heart, at the time of recording this, sells for up to about 2 Exalts or slightly more on Rampage League. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot when compared to the other items, but it's still a decent little chunk of change. However, the reason why I like to chance the Amethyst Hearts is because there is really high potential value of the item if it rolls a rare and rolls with good stats. So I like to chance Amethyst Rings when I first get to level 60, when I first start dropping level 60 Amethyst Rings, and that is so that I can use them in the Chaos recipe, so even if it rolls terribly as a rare, I can still use it in the Chaos recipe and get a Chaos back, which covers some of the costs of chancing them. Or once I get to, you know, high level, eye level 75 maps, I start only doing eye level 75 plus Amethyst Rings for the chance of that Regal recipe. So once you get into those high level maps, you should stop chancing eye level 60 ones because you're kind of wasting too many chances at that point. That's also a little bit later in the season. So early on in the season, I'll chance for the lower level jewelry, which can still be quite valuable to people because people are trying to get their first sets of jewelry. And then later on in the season, when I am also leveled up, I start only chancing for those Regals. Now, you can sell a rare Amethyst Ring if it's rolled with a decent combination of life, resists, and offensive stats, especially if it's got some extra chaos resistance on there as well. And then the final item I like to chance is the Gold Ring for Andvarius. Now, Andvarius is a magic finding ring, and the Gold Ring is also a magic finding base, and magic finding is fairly popular these days, and it's always been fairly popular. Magic finding items have always been in decent demand. Now, I'll usually only chance eye level 75 for Regal recipe, and for a chance at the Dragons of Excavation rolls, which is the highest level of item rarity rolls that you can possibly get on a Gold Ring. So if this Gold Ring doesn't roll as Andvarius, and you get a rare that has decent life, energy shield, resists, and offensive stats, then it can still sell for a decent chunk of cash. And then Gold Rings can be especially valuable if they also roll with high amounts of additional item rarity, say between 35 to 50%, 50% being the max possible amount. Now, you'll notice those last two items, although they were much less in value if you do get the unique, they were both items of jewelry, they were both rings. Now, the reason for this is that rings and amulets are the real bottleneck in the Chaos Orb and Regal recipes that you can use at the vendor. So basically, you're finding plenty of armor and weapons that you can use in these recipes, but rings and amulets are much rarer. So by chancing these items, you are getting a more steady supply of rares for these. Now, you can either sell those rares if they roll well, or you can use them in those Regal or Chaos recipes, and that's why they make the list for me, even though the uniques themselves are much lower value. And I have to say, overall, the amount of profits I've made off of chancing, say, things like Amethyst and Gold Rings, as compared to things like Occultist Vestments and Prophecy Wands and Gavels, is I've probably made more currency off the Amethyst and Gold Rings. Now, the reason for that is that more often jewelry is sellable than something like a Prophecy Wand or an Occultist Vestment or a Gavel. So try not to let the unique value of the potential unique you're going for be the only thing you judge. I do recommend judging the other possible options because more often than not, you're going to get those other possible results and not the unique. So anyway, hopefully you guys found this guide useful and you can implement some of it into your own strategy, or at least take it under advisement when you're creating your own strategy. Anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments below. That's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.